It's March. It's supposed to be, coming as spring, but we're kind of stuck inside right now. COVID-19. Anybody else out there feel like the whole world's gone crazy? Man, this stuff is nuts. Can't even go to work. You can't even go to school. Can't even go to the grocery store without lining up. Places are just on lockdown. Gonna go crazy if you just stay inside and do nothing. There's only so many times I can clean the yard up. I'm running out of stuff to do. I just cannot stay still for too long. If you don't have to go out, don't go out, for crying out loud. But got to do something. Try to get the mind going here. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come up with a project, something I haven't done before, something creative. I'm going to film it, put it up on YouTube. I'm going to challenge you guys as well. Think about it for a while, something you haven't done before, so that people can get some inspiration. I'm going to call mine COVID-19 project. Maybe you can hashtag yours COVID-19 project as well. What we got here is a lot of time. It's time to be creative. We can't do anything else, so let's do something. What I would like to do is make a carving, a wood carving of a hand. I have this marble sphere that I bought when we were away, and I want to get a holder to hold it. My idea was like a hand, kind of holding the globe or the world kind of thing. So I got a chunk of wood, smoking meat and stuff like that. I always have cherry wood and stuff around. So cherry wood is one of my favorite woods because of the color and the smell as well. On it, of course, the flavor, the wood flavor from cherry wood's pretty good. Well, let's not get into smoking. That's a whole nother story. Okay, so my idea is to carve the hand out of this chunk of wood. And I want to get this kind of shape here going. And seeing that this wood is curved like this, I figure this might be a good piece of wood to start with. So I'm going to try this out, see how this goes. And I'm going to have to figure it out as I go because I've never carved a hand before. This is going to be all new to me. Luckily, I have the tools to do it. I hope I have all the tools to do it. I've got a bunch of carving chisels and stuff like that. So my idea is just to start this. And what I'm thinking I got to do first is to kind of just draw fingers from on top first and just keep carving down in the wood until I get that kind of cup feeling of the hand. And we'll see how it goes from there. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting project. So I'll update you. I'll just give you a little updates here and there as I go along. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing because I don't even know how long this is going to take me. I kind of like to take my time with stuff and not really, rush it. So it might take me a while. We'll see. I wish I had a bigger diameter piece of wood, because this one's only probably about the widest point, maybe about 4.5 inches across. So it's not as big. I mean, I've got a wide spread here, and so I'm gonna have to kind of make a tiny hand. I don't have a tiny hand. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I'll show you my shop. This is the next issue I'm dealing with because it's a mess. This is the first time my shop is a mess. I got like my pit boss, not grill, smoker. My pit boss smoker there just waiting to get some stuff done. I've got my tires and for the car, and then over here I've got my grow lights. These are beautiful grow lights, by the way. I like these. I don't quite know how to pronounce this word. If it's a pornuo or whatever it is, but I love the lights. They work pretty good. They're LEDs, full spectrum, and you can see the results here. I've been carrying these plants through the winter. This is my number one important plant, right? For anybody who loves hot peppers, this is the bomb. This is the Carolina Reaper. This is the hottest pepper in the world right now. I think it's about 1.5 million on the Scoville scale. And here's the second hottest pepper in the world, right? This one is the Trinidad Scorpion from Moruga in Trinidad, my homeland. And I had to prune them back a bit because they were getting quite bushy. This light's been feeding them pretty good. And to besides, I've been feeding them with other plant food being in pots, you know. Other than that, I've carried my rosemary through the winter for the first time because of the light. You know, it's getting some good light energy. It looks like sunlight in here. And then basil. I've taken this thing from, I think it was June of last year. It's now March of 2020, and it's still going pretty strong. I got some salad mix as well, and some other hot peppers like cayennes and stuff like that, along with some tomato plants and other mini peppers and stuff that's coming up. Yeah, so that's what I am about. I'm gonna get all this stuff done. So the first thing to do, figure, is to get the bark off of the chunk of wood here, and I'm gonna be doing that now. Also, what I did is just try to roughly draw some finger um, points on this where fingers would be, the tips of the fingers, and there are more circles here than I need, of course, if you can see it. Kind of X'd out some of them there because it didn't seem to be in the optimal spot. Cherry is not much of a softwood. It's a little bit harder, um, but this will definitely still work for this anyway. So yeah, I'm just kind of getting some of that rougher bark off. This rough bark here. Start at the top and just kind of work my way down. So that'll be my first step. Actually, I guess my second step, since I already drew the fingers, the tops of the fingers already. Hopefully this wood doesn't have any big cracks in it everywhere, because that's just definitely going to change things up for me. There is a lot of cracks throughout this piece of wood, but it still has a beautiful look to it that I really, really like. So I'm going to take the chance and keep working with this piece. The cherry smell from it is just fantastic. You know, this piece of wood definitely got away from smoking meat, that's for sure. So good. A little bit of beetle damage as well, or worm damage in there. Yeah, I just continue stripping this bark of it. I just cut out a notch in the wood here, just at the top. Now, if you can picture this notch will be where between the thumb and the index finger. To get a wider hand too, what I'm going to do is cut the top off here, like at an angle to what it is already. So I'm going to cut it from here down to about here. And that's going to make the top of the wood, in effect, a little bit wider. So I'll have some more space to work with. And also even out the fingers on the thumb a bit. Instead of it like this, it's going to be like that. I'm making some good progress. I've already started carving into the wood now. If you notice, these things that look like probably bear claws. You know, I've got some fingers that I'm trying to get out of there right now. I had to take it over to the bandsaw and just kind of cut some notches to help me get in there a little bit faster. So on this side is where the thumb's going to be. Index finger here, middle finger, and then the whatever finger that one's called. Who knows what that is. Pinky finger is going to be right over here. So that's what I'm up to right now. So I'm just using my soft chisels right now, my softwood chisels, to get into here. Just for the rough stuff, I'm just going to use these chisels for now. And you can see it's already taken a beating there. I don't know if the camera will zoom into that. But I just sharpened these yesterday, and the tips of it is already starting to get dull. You can tell this steel is not a very good steel at all. It's just Canadian Tire Mastercraft stuff, but at least it'll take this beating. It's easy to replace, doesn't really cost that much at all. I'm wearing safety glasses to actually prevent anything from flying in my eyes right now. So this is a get on the inside. I'm just kind of knocking keeping the fingers. So I'm just gonna have to go little by little in there and knock pieces off. It's gonna take some time to get this a little bit more refined, but it starts looking like something. But I'll get there for sure. What I did actually found is that there's tons of cracks, like I was explaining, in the wood. So I got them going down where the sides of the fingers. Not that's a saw mark. And some of the fingers, like this one here, there's a crack right there. So I'm gonna have to fill that and stuff. I've managed to groove out the inside of the hand a little bit better, and my fingers are starting to take a little bit more form. I drew some like some joints and stuff behind with fingernails. What I'm about to do now is from the back of the hand, I'm just going to carve out the back of the hand as best as I can, and see how that turns out. But I scored a line around it to gouge or carve underneath this way, so I'll get the back of it going. Okay, so we can see the back of the hand taking shape now. So I'm trying to model it as much as possible for my hand because that's what I got to work with. It's not going to be to scale for sure, but if I were to be holding something like this, I'm just trying to design it as closely like that as possible. Not a sculptor or anything or wood artist, but I like working with wood, and I'm just gonna keep carving away here and give you updates as I go along. Okay, so at this point it's quite into the project here, and I definitely have my general shape here going, and I think I need to do some more detail carving now. So I'm going to be using my Swiss set. Anyway, this is a set that I bought down in the Seattle area, and I'm going to be using this to get some more detail. I need to start to carve out things like knuckles and joints and fingernails and stuff like that. I think the general hand, the palm of the hand, could use a little bit more work there as well. And yeah, so see if we can get some more detail going in here. I'm gonna just narrow down the fingers a bit more. Right now they're a little bit more thick than I want them. I'm gonna get the fingers more angular on the inside here. So I'm using a bit of an upward stroke. If I rush it, I'm likely to damage something after working so hard to get to this point. I'm definitely not in any hurry to damage anything, that's for sure. Putting some joints into the fingers, fingernails and stuff like that. Here's a thumb. We got that done. And did some on this one here, fingernail on top. And just putting some joints as well on the inside here. You can see that. Make it look a little bit more realistic. So to put the joints in, you know, I'm simply just kind of making a little indentation around the finger. Hopefully you can see that. And again, I keep looking at my finger and patting in it, my hand, and patterning after that. You can see what I did to each of the marks. And now I'm just going to take my chisel and make them a little bit deeper so they stand out some more. Okay, so just enough to give it, you know, a little bit realistic look. It's past the bear claw stage, of course, and it's now indeed looking like a hand. That's for sure. And hopefully, where I plan to have the center of gravity is right on this thumb here. So my thing would balance on it a little bit better, but I won't know until I actually put it on here. I'll just show you what I've done while I'm making the fingernails. I began first with simply drawing a fingernail. And just draw it in there. And then I kind of put like some joints. Try to look at my finger again. That's the middle finger, I guess, where the joints would be. And it's going to be one here, right where the finger bends. I made a mistake when I went to my bandsaw trying to cut these notches out. I'll have to fill that with some wood glue and sawdust and patch it up a bit. It's not gonna really change things too much because there's a lot of cracks everywhere else in this project. All right, so I'm gonna put some more shape to the fingers. So the joints are is kind of more bulbous than in between in the segments. So I'm gonna try to imitate that on these fingers as well. What I did yesterday was put some slants in the fingertips itself, so my sphere could fit in there and actually be on resting on all the fingers. What I realized at that time is when I tried my globe on there is that the center of gravity is not quite where I wanted it to be. What I got the idea of doing is cutting the base at more of a slant backwards. So I'm going to have the hand actually slanting this way some more. It'll sit on here perfectly, but I'm not satisfied that it's going to be secure, that if somebody touches it, it's not going to roll off. So if I tilt the hand backwards a bit, more like this, then it'll rest in a cradle more, and it wouldn't be in jeopardy of falling off if somebody taps it. So with that, I'll have to mount this on a flat base. But yeah, I could get creative with that as well. From there, what I can see is having to slim down each finger just in between the joints. So then where the joints are, it's going to be a little bit wider. And I'll get some more definition. I can already see that actually taking effect just from that little amount that I'm doing here. It's one thing, it visually does not take a whole lot to change something. You just gotta thin it out a bit. And before you know it, wherever you create new lines, you get more light in one area, more shadow in another area, and it will change. You might be able to see, I don't know, yeah, the joint there coming into view. So right here, it's a little bit indented. Here is fatter. So I'm going to keep working on that until it gets a little bit more defined. Of course, I got to be careful how much I'm taking off there, because I definitely don't want it to look like a skeleton hand. Then I know I've gone too far. It's going to be hard to get it back from there. That's the trick, is to make it as lifelike as possible, but if I overdo it, then it can have the opposite effect. Definitely starting to look more like a finger. Okay, so I've finished 2 fingers. being the index finger and the middle finger. And you can see more defined joints look to it. So it looks more like a finger now. And I've got the knuckles in the back of the hand as well. Okay, I'm gonna go on now to this other finger here and start again by just moving some material from in between the joints. These Swiss chisels are definitely coming in very handy to do this work with. I don't have to put too much pressure on the wood. And I don't have to use a mallet as well. Been using a rubber mallet for most of the time here. I do have a sharpening stone, so every now and again I gotta give my chisel a little bit of honing to maintain the edge. I think it's coming up to about that time right about now. Like I said, I don't want to really bore you guys by having you watch all this stuff, because this stuff can take a long time. I've been working on this for a few hours already today. That's why I'm just kind of jumping the video every now and again and doing updates rather than have it constantly running. So here you can see that taking some shape there already. Okay, so just wrapping up this detail work now on the fingers. So I've got all my knuckles and everything in place. Let me just reposition this camera a bit. Okay, so yeah, all the knuckles and stuff have been put in, all the joints been done, and you can see there's a lot better shape to all the fingers now. There's a lot more detail in them. So at this point, what I'm going to do is cut the base of it, like I mentioned earlier. I'll take this over to the bandsaw and I will get that done. And the other thing left to do today would be to use my wood glue and fill in all the cracks. At least in 24 hours I should be able to sand it, because that's the outside. It's not going to affect any of the drawing process on the inside of the wood. For that, I'll give it at least 48 hours before I look to do any clear coat or anything like that. So that's it for today. I'll give it a fill, and after that would be sanding.